Today I'm going to be breaking down how you can use Inferno Dragons here at Townhall 13 to 3-star any base. So here is the army composition that we are going to be taking a look at today, and as you can see, it's pretty simple. We're going to be coming in very heavy on the Inferno Dragons. We have those skeleton spells to help tank for them. We're going to have balloons coming in the blimp, which of course is going to be used to snipe off that town hall. And honestly, when it comes to equipment for your heroes, go with whatever you feel most comfortable with. On this, you can see what we have. I would suggest just bringing probably any epic equipment you have on your heroes. If you don't have any, these common pieces of hero equipment will work just as well. But let's jump straight in and I'll break it down. So the first thing we're going to want to do with this specific strategy is create a little bit of a funnel. Inferno Dragons can hit any buildings, they are not defensive targeting, so typically you're going to want to try and use your heroes as well as the Electro Dragon that we bring in this attack to help create that funnel. Ideally, you're going to want your heroes to try and clear out a corner section of a base. Sometimes they're going to include high value targets like a scatter shot here, but unfortunately sometimes you're not going to be able to pick up that value. Don't stress about that though, the funnel itself is more important. So if we go ahead and watch this one, first things first, we're going to be zapping out the sweeper. Now you want to zap out the sweeper that is pointing towards where you're going to be attacking from. We do of course have another one that's going to be coming in here, which potentially could cause us some issues, but for us right now we're kind of coming in from this section here, so hopefully we should be able to avoid that sweeper. King and Queen going to be coming over here from this right hand side of the blaze, and here come those Inferno Dragons. If we pause things up right there, you guys can see King and Queen going to clear out this air defense, hopefully push in towards this single target Inferno. We're going to have a skeleton spell coming down that's going to help tank for this scatter shot. A couple of important things to remember when it does come to tanking scatter shots. There's this little ring on the inside. The scatter shot cannot shoot there, so if you drop down your skeleton spell directly on top of a scatter shot, it's not actually going to achieve very much. Then we're going to be creating the funnel on the opposite side with an Electro Dragon. Do be careful on where you place that Electro Dragon, because you'll see in this particular example, unfortunately it goes straight into an air defense, so we're going to lose that pretty early on. Skeleton spells deployed pretty early as well. Like I said, those are going to be tanking for enemy heroes, scatter shots, single target Infernos, anything that could potentially cause your Inferno Dragons problems. Balloon is going to fly, Blimp is going to fly all the way over with a whole heap of balloons coming out of it. That's going to be used to snipe off that town hall for us. Of course, we have that rage gem coming through on the Grand Warden, which is going to be very beneficial just to help the DPS overall of those Inferno Dragons. Queen of course has those healers from the healer puppet. That's going to help her just to sweep around the outside of the base. When it comes to your King, of course we're going to be bringing the vamp stash as well, which does help to keep him alive typically as he progresses through the outside of a base, though in this particular example he decides to wander into the core. Now the Royal Champion typically is going to come in through the back end, and you'll notice your Inferno Dragons are either going to swing to one side or the other. In this particular case they kind of went through this section of the base, so we're going to go ahead and use a Royal Champion on the opposite section of the base just to swing through and clean up some of these last remaining defenses. Unfortunately she does end up going down, as does the Grand Warden. Speaking of the Grand Warden, one of the things to keep in the back of your mind is the fact you will need to make sure he is on air. I have seen this mistake made a lot, so as you go into the attack, just make sure you double check your Grand Warden is not on ground and he is in fact on air. But as we clean up these last couple of buildings, you'll see we've got a couple of Inferno Dragons left up. This one actually fairly close. Maybe should have taken slightly longer to help create that funnel and been a little bit more sparing with those skeleton spells, but we'll jump in. We've got a couple more examples to break this one down. Okay, so here we go with this second example. Again, we're going to be coming in with those heroes. It looks like in this particular example we're potentially going to be pushing in towards this Eagle Artillery, but we do have that super wall breaker, which is just going to give us access through that first wall compartment. We're then going to identify one of either of the sweepers to zap out. That of course is going to allow us just to push through the base. Electro Dragon going to be coming through from that top section of the base, of course helping to create that funnel. Nice and early with those first skeleton spells, though typically you can hold them for slightly later on because of course you have that Grand Warden ability, so your troops are kind of protected through the initial portion of this attack anyway. So I tend to only use skeleton spells at the start of this attack if you know you're not going to be deploying that Grand Warden ability for slightly longer. But in this one, the blimp does fly all the way through with the help of that Eternal Tome, taking down the Town Hall and giving us that second star. Like I said, Royal Champion's going to be coming in kind of from the opposite side of where your Inferno Dragon's path. The majority of them are in the core. We have a couple up here with that Electro Dragon, and our Royal Champions then going to be coming in through on the back end. Freezing up the scatter shot on the back end, it can be pretty deadly in towards any large group of those Inferno Dragons, and of course it's going to help to tank for our Royal Champion as she pushes through the back end of this one. When it comes to her abilities, you'll see we do have the Seeking Shield as well as that Life Gem. The Life Gem typically just gives her a little bit more of a buff because she is soloing through the back end of some of these bases. Pushing through the back end of this one, again, it's going to be a little bit tight. It's not the massive overkill that we see from some Townhall 13 strategies like Hydra and stuff like that, but honestly the majority of this time this strategy does bring me 3 stars. It is definitely strong, but one of the things you need to be careful is not wasting your hero abilities, trying to time them perfectly. You can also switch up on the Queen's ability from the invisibility vial. I actually like to bring the Giant Arrow just to take out a couple of air defenses, get some nice DPS through the core of the base, but that is just personal preference for me. So moving on to that third and final example, before we jump into this one, I'd just like to remind you guys to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We are super close to hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark, and of course when we get there we're going to be doing a gold pass giveaway. So let's hop straight back into this one, kicking off proceedings with the E-Dragon. If you don't know about Coco Loons, basically what you do is you go ahead, drop down a balloon before your main troop. That way you're going to be able to test for any Seeking Air Mines. Again, the mistake I think we're making is deploying down these skeleton spells just a little bit too early. The skeletons are almost completely wasted here because remember, like I said, you're going to use that Eternal Tome ability, so all of your troops are already protected, so we're definitely going to make more sense to hold those skeleton spells for slightly further through into the base where they're going to be far more effective. We're going to rage up the balloons as they come out of that blimp, securing the Town Hall. You'll see we are using balloons in our clan castle here, but I actually tend to use Yetis when it comes to my blimps. They are still going to grab the Town Hall for you, but they also are going to be able to maybe pick off a couple other defenses once that Town Hall does go down with those Yeti mites. But again, that is just personal preference. Again, looking very strong here. We're going to see that Royal Champion appearing from the top section of the base, actually combining with a couple of our other heroes because the majority of our troops have pathed to this bottom section. Single target Inferno so close to going down, but unfortunately does lock on to our Queen there just before she manages to walk away. The Royal Champion will be able to one-shot that, absolutely lovely. And then we can continue just swinging through the back end of this one. We can go ahead, let that Royal Champion snipe off that air defense, and this one a far more dominant 3-star than some of those other ones we have seen. You'll see that Queen ability getting popped off there on the back end. Like I said, typically I do like to prefer bringing the Giant Arrow. You can then pop the Queen ability right at the start. You've already got those healers in there just to help protect her through the back end. But there we go. If you would like to pick up this strategy, the link for it, as always, is down in the description. But until the next video, I'll see you later.